Almost 100 American soldiers have been wounded, and Iran has severely damaged airplanes, radar systems, and military bases. But why does it seem that America's defenses, which they used to proudly claim were almost impossible for Iran's missiles and drones to penetrate, are now failing? Could it be that Iran's weapons are getting stronger and their tactics are also improving? So in this video, we will talk about how Iran is able to get through the intense defenses of the United States, what new weapons they are using, and how serious and capable Iran is of launching a ground operation against U.S. facilities in the Middle East, located in countries across the region, according to the latest threat from a high-ranking Iranian official. Mr. Good Vibes Shorts. Yeah. When an Iranian missile hits its exact target, two things could have happened. The air defense system either failed to shoot it down, or worse, it didn't even detect it in time. That's the serious question now after the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Azraq, Jordan, was hit. A facility used by American forces under an agreement with Jordan. In the initial report, 2 American soldiers were killed and 1 is missing after the ballistic missile. And during the drone attack last Friday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called it a missile that slipped through, after almost all incoming threats were reportedly shot down. But come July 22, this is the more alarming part. This was not a single accident within just 48 hours before the deadly strike. The same airbase has been directly hit twice. Dozens of personnel were injured. After this, Iran continued to send missiles and drones, which were again intercepted by Jordanian air defenses. According to CENTCOM, they destroyed dozens of threats on July 17th. However, they also admitted that some got through and hit their targets. If only one missile gets through, it can be called luck. But if this keeps happening repeatedly in the same place, that's no longer just luck. This is now a clear problem with the defense. Even President Donald Trump hinted that it's not only American operators handling the base's defense. He said that other operators were allowed to do the job and there was a threat they failed to stop. He did not explain whether he was referring to Jordanian personnel, the Joint Command Team, radar operators, or another allied unit, but the message was clear. Even if you have the best interceptor, it's useless if the warning comes too late. The tracking was wrong. The radar and firing unit are not connected, or too many targets are coming in at the same time. And that's exactly the tactic believed to be used by Iran. According to retired Jordanian Lieutenant General Qasid Mahmoud, Iran may first send simpler and cheaper missiles or drones to confuse the radar and soak up the defender's attention. After this, higher quality and more precise missiles follow, which can change direction in the last 30 to 40 kilometers before impact. In modern missile warfare, defense is not just about the strength of weapons. It is a battle against time and radar coverage, the number of interceptors, and the speed of decision-making. And in Jordan, Iran showed that even America's powerful defense can still be penetrated. The bigger danger is not just how many missiles Iran has left, but what kind they are using and how they time their attacks to hit at once. Among Iran's newest weapons is the solid-fuel K-Bar-Shekan, a medium-range ballistic missile with an estimated range of 1,450 kilometers and a warhead that can maneuver as it approaches its target. It also has the Fatah one, which Iran calls a hypersonic missile because it can reportedly exceed Mach 5 and change direction during the terminal phase. Iran also showcased the Fatah 2, but independent evidence about its actual combat use remains limited. In the attack on Jordan, there is still no official confirmation if it was the Fatah that actually hit. But some analysts believe that Iran may have used the K-Bar-Shekan or a similar maneuverable missile. Iran also doesn't just fire all at once. It follows what's called a saturation and layered attack. In the first wave, they might send slower and cheaper Shahed-type drones along with simple missiles. The goal isn't to immediately destroy the base, but to force the radar to track a lot of targets and to prompt the Patriot or other interceptor batteries to fire. Once the radar is busy and available interceptors are depleted, That's when the faster and more accurate ballistic missiles will arrive. Some may change direction in the final phase of their flight, so the air defense computer's earlier prediction suddenly becomes inaccurate. In this way, Iran doesn't need to defeat every Patriot battery. It only needs to create more threats than the radar and missile crew can handle within a few minutes. And Iran isn't just targeting Jordan. They've repeatedly attacked areas used by the United States in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar, while there have also been attacks and Iranian claims against facilities in Oman, in Bahrain. That's where the headquarters of the U.S. Navy Fifth Fleet is located. In Kuwait, even a power generation and water desalination facility was hit, causing a fire and the loss of several generating units. This shows that not only military bases can be affected, but also electricity, water, and civilians living near the targets. A more controversial report also came out from the IRGC. According to Iran, it hit the aircraft shelters and parking ramps at the Muwafaq Salti Air Base and allegedly destroyed at least 2 American fighter jets and 3 more aircraft. In another statement, Iran said they hit the hangars of the F-15, F-16, and F-35, as well as MQ-9 drones. But it's important to be clear that this is Iran's claim, and it has not yet been independently confirmed. And the Pentagon has not yet released the complete battle damage assessment. However, this kind of damage is not impossible. In March, Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia was also hit. 5 American aerial refueling aircraft were damaged on the ground. In another strike, several planes were damaged. At least 15 American soldiers were injured. And a damaged E-3 Sentry radar aircraft was even caught on camera. So what happened in Jordan is not an isolated incident. Iran is gradually learning how to find the gaps in America's defenses. And with every missile that gets through, the chances increase that more planes, bases, and soldiers will be hit in the next wave. But it's not just fighter jets, radars, and buildings that are lost in every successful attack by Iran. The heaviest price is the lives of the soldiers. Those who were killed at Muwafaq Salti Air Base, First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, Private Isabella Gonzalez, and Sergeant Angel Rampersad, were all part of the 10th Army Air and Missile Defense Command. They themselves were part of the unit trained to operate and support systems that protect against missile and drone attacks. This means that the missile that struck did not just get past the defense. It hit the very people whose duty was to keep that defense operational. At first, only 2 soldiers were confirmed dead and 1 was still missing. But after his remains were found and identified, the death toll in Jordan rose to 3. At the same time, dozens of personnel were treated for concussions, blast injuries, and other wounds caused by the successive explosions. A concussion may be classified as minor in official records, but that doesn't mean it has no effects. It can cause severe headaches, dizziness, loss of balance, memory problems, and difficulty sleeping. The Pentagon admitted that nearly 100 American service members have been injured since the attacks intensified again on July 7th. According to their statement, 96% of them have already returned to duty. However, they did not immediately explain at which bases all the damage occurred, how many Iranian strikes actually hit, how much equipment was damaged. This is where a new battle began, not in the air, but in the information war. The New York Times accused. The Times accused the Pentagon of not immediately disclosing some Iranian attacks and the casualties caused by them. The Pentagon strongly denied this and said the accusation was false and damaging. The newspaper insisted that their report was based on numerous officials who had direct knowledge of the military operations. But regardless of which side you take, one thing is clear. The damage is greater than what the public initially sees. Since the war broke out on February 28, the number of American service members who have died has risen to 18, and more than 500 have been wounded. There were deaths in the Iranian drone strike in Kuwait, in the attack in Saudi Arabia, in the crash of a KC-135 tanker in Iraq, in a helicopter crash in the Arabian Sea, in the explosion of an Iranian drone while it was being inspected in Iraq, and now in the direct attack in Jordan. So it can no longer be said that American soldiers are safe just because they are not fighting Iranian troops on the ground. This war is being fought from hundreds of kilometers away. from a distance using missiles, drones, and radar. And as the number of coffins being brought back to America increases, President Trump has less and less room to back down without retaliating. The question now is, how far will America take its retaliation, and what target in Iran will it destroy next? By Tuesday night, July 21, the United States launched its 11th consecutive night of airstrikes against Iran. Explosions once again echoed in Tehran, while reports also mentioned the activation of air defense in Tabriz. Explosions were also heard in the port cities of Chabahar and Konarak, as well as in Bushehr, the location of Iran's only operational nuclear power plant. According to CENTCOM, not only missile launchers were targeted, but military operations centers, aircraft hangars, drone storage facilities, maritime weapons, communication sites, and logistics infrastructure were also bombed. The official reason from Washington is to weaken Iran's ability to attack commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. More than 30 ships have reportedly been attacked or harassed by Iran in just 3 months, but these targets may only be preparations for a larger attack. U.S. President Donald Trump openly stated that the so-called Pickaxe Mountain, or Kuwait Kolang Gazla, a very deep underground complex near the damaged Natanz nuclear facility, could be the next to be bombed. It is suspected that it may contain new centrifuges and facilities for uranium enrichment that have not yet been fully inspected by the International Atomic Energy Agency. This is not an ordinary bunker. Some parts of it are estimated to be 80 to 100 meters, or even deeper beneath the mountain. It is deeper than many facilities the usual bunker buster bomb is designed to hit. The United States might use the massive GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, which is carried by the B-2 bomber. But even that bomb might not be enough to completely destroy all the rooms under the mountain. It might be necessary to repeatedly strike the same spot or destroy the entrance tunnels, ventilation system, power, and communications to trap and paralyze the entire facility. Trump said they would strike the place as soon as possible and that it would be a very heavy attack. He even admitted that he doesn't usually announce targets, but said that Iran can't do anything to stop it. The Qatam al-Anbiya military command of Iran immediately issued a warning. They consider the attack on Pickaxe Mountain as an expansion of the war throughout the entire region. If that happens, Iran will reportedly target all American interests, including allied countries that help and provide bases to American forces. At the same time, the Houthis in Yemen also took action. They threatened to block ships heading to Saudi Arabian ports through the Bab al-Mandab Strait, the southern entrance to the Red Sea. 2 tankers carrying Saudi crude oil for China and India were forced to turn back and find another route because of this threat. This means that it's not just the Strait of Hormuz that's at risk anymore. If both the Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab are disrupted at the same time, 2 of the world's most important oil and trade passages could be blocked. And at that point, the war will no longer be just between America and Iran. The whole world will start to pay the price. But if America continues to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities and command centers, can Iran really respond with a direct ground or naval attack against American facilities in the region as it recently threatened? The clear answer is it can launch limited attacks, but carrying out a large-scale and prolonged ground invasion would be very difficult. Iran does not have a direct land border with Bahrain, Qatar, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. For the regular Iranian army to reach most U.S. bases, it would need to cross the sea or pass through other countries. Large convoys of tanks and soldiers would be easily spotted by American satellites, surveillance aircraft, and drones. If they go out on open roads, they could be bombed before even reaching their target. More likely are the quieter and more dangerous methods: Quds Force operatives, special forces, and allied militias. In Iraq and Syria, there are armed groups trained and supported by Iran. They can attack small outposts, convoys, supply depots, and air defense positions using rockets, drones, roadside bombs, or quick raids. There could also be sabotage at fuel depots, power stations, communication lines, and ports. But even Iran's proxy strategy has weakened, because some militias now prioritize their own interests and do not want to get involved in a war that could bring intense attacks from America. At sea, Iran's capabilities are more serious. It doesn't need to defeat the entire U.S. Navy. It only needs to make passage through the Persian Gulf extremely dangerous and costly. It has fast attack boats, suicide craft, coastal anti-ship missiles, armed drones, torpedoes, midget submarines, and naval mines. It can simultaneously deploy small boats, missiles, and drones to force an American warship to split its attention and ammunition. They can also secretly lay mines in shipping lanes or around ports. There is already proof in Iran's history that this is not an empty threat. In 1987, an Iranian cruise missile hit the tanker Sea Isle City. In 1988, the USS Samuel B. Roberts almost sank after hitting an Iranian mine. Recently, Iran also fired missiles and drones and sent small boats against American destroyers passing through the Strait of Hormuz, although no new American ships were hit. It can also be attacked from the sea. The radar stations, fuel terminals, offshore platforms, and smaller coastal facilities. But it's a different matter to invade and occupy a large base like the headquarters of the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Such an amphibious assault would require many ships, air cover, continuous supplies, and thousands of soldiers. Capabilities Iran could not shield from the full force of America. So the biggest danger is not an Iranian army suddenly occupying the Gulf. The real threat is simultaneous missile, drone, mine, sabotage, proxy raid, and naval swarm attacks from multiple directions. Iran cannot win a direct conventional war against America, but it can prolong the conflict, kill more soldiers, disrupt oil and trade, and make every day of America's presence in the region extremely costly. And when it comes to that, there may be no real winners, but millions of ordinary people will surely pay the price. In the coming days, the likelihood of the war escalating is still greater than the chance of immediate peace. The United States continues its attacks while Iran threatens broader retaliation if its nuclear facilities are hit. But the door to diplomacy is not completely closed yet. Mediators have proposed a 10-day ceasefire, and Washington has said that negotiations are still open. The key will be whether both sides can stop the cycle of retaliation. If a major base, ship, or nuclear site is hit, a regional war could fully erupt in the area. And at that point, there would be no turning back. If you like this video, please share it with others and subscribe as well. Also, watch the videos on the right to waste even more of your time.